Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the INNOVADERMA PLC General Meeting and AGM. Throughout this presentation, investors will be in listen-only mode. Questions are encouraged and can be submitted at any time via the Q&A tab situated on the right-hand corner of your screen. The company may not be in a position to answer every question it receives during the meeting itself. However, the company will review all questions submitted today and publish responses where it is appropriate to do so. These will be available via your Investor Meet Company dashboard. I would also like to remind you that the presentation is being recorded. Before we begin, I would like to submit the following poll. I would now like to hand you over to Joe Bayer, Chairman, and Blake Hughes, CEO of INNOVADERMA PLC. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning. Good morning. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome you to the adjourned annual general meeting and the general meeting of INNOVADERMA PLC. I am Joe Bayer, the Chairman of INNOVADERMA PLC, and present at the meeting are my fellow board members, whom I will introduce shortly. It's just after 10 a.m. and as we have a quorum, I declare both the adjourned annual general meeting and the general meeting open. As previously announced, the general meeting is held at the same time as today's adjourned annual general meeting. As a matter of law, the adjourned annual general meeting and the general meeting are two separate meetings and will be recorded as such. However, the board has taken all reasonable steps to have these meetings held as if they were one, and the resolutions will be considered in the following order. First, the adjourned annual general meeting resolutions, followed by the general meeting resolutions. Given the current measures around COVID-19 situation and the desire for the company to protect the health and safety of shareholders, the adjourned annual general meeting and the general meeting will be run as virtual meetings. Before starting the formal proceedings, I would like to remind everyone that Rodney Turner, who has been a non-executive director of the group since September 2014, has chosen not to stand for re-election, and his resignation took effect from the beginning of this meeting. On behalf of the board, I would like to take this opportunity to express our heartfelt thanks to Rodney for his exemplary service to INNOVADERMA. Over the last 6 years, he has provided considerable insight, regulatory and corporate governance expertise, and wise counsel from the very early beginnings and through the growth of the group to its current listed status. On behalf of the board, we wish him all the very best for the future. I would now like to introduce the board, who are also attending the adjourned annual general meeting and the general meeting today. Alongside of me on screen is Blake Hughes, Executive Director and our new CEO. Welcome, Blake. Mark Ward, Non-Executive Director. Ross Andrews, Non-Executive Director. Simon Piper, our new Non-Executive Director, is also attending these meetings, and he will be joining the board at the conclusion of these meetings, assuming the resolution for his appointment is passed. Before starting the formal proceedings, I would like to state that an update on an overview of the company and its performance during the year from the board's perspective will be given when the first half revenue numbers are released by the company in early January 2021. I would now like to start the formal proceedings of this adjourned annual general meeting and general meeting. The notices of the adjourned general meeting and the general meeting, together with the explanatory notes, were posted to shareholders on the 24th of November 2020. Accordingly, the requisite notices for both meetings has been given. I propose, therefore, that, with your consent, the notices of the adjourned annual general meeting and the general meeting should be taken as read. Is that agreed? I would expect so. Everyone's nodding their heads. If any shareholder requests that notices be read, I'm happy to do that, but I would expect that under the circumstances of the virtual meeting that they are assumed as read. Just in terms of voting procedures, to more accurately reflect the views of the shareholders of the company, voting for both the adjourned annual general meeting and the general meeting has already been completed by proxy voting procedure on each of the resolutions put to the meetings. This is seen as best practice as it gives all shareholders the opportunity to participate in the decision-making of the company and have their votes recorded, given that they don't have the opportunity to attend today's virtual adjourned annual general meeting and general meeting in person. I would like to highlight that any proxies submitted for the original annual general meeting on the 11th of November 2020 will apply to today's adjourned annual general meeting unless such proxies have been updated or amended. There were 3 options for each resolution. You could have voted for the proposed resolution, against the proposed resolution, or you could have withheld your vote. A vote withheld is not a vote in law and will not be counted in the calculation of the proportion of votes for or against a resolution. I confirm that all discretionary votes received and left open for the chairman to vote have been voted in favour of the resolutions. There were no shareholder questions received in relation to the matters relevant to the business of the adjourned annual general meeting and the general meeting. We're able to take shareholder questions now, but however, we will leave those towards the end of the meeting. And if you have any questions, please enter those through the text box on your screen. Please give your name and state whether you are a shareholder, proxy or corporate representative. If you are a proxy or corporate representative, please state your name and the name of the shareholder you're representing. The current system does not permit you to speak to give your questions. We'll now proceed to the vote on the resolutions of the adjourned annual general meeting, which I will formally propose to the meeting. The full text of each of the resolutions is set out in the notice of adjourned annual general meeting, a copy of which you have received. As mentioned earlier, all votes have already been submitted in advance of the meeting and there is no ability for shareholders to vote separately at the meeting. Therefore, I will announce the results of each resolution as we proceed. Resolutions 1 to 8 are proposed as ordinary resolutions and require a simple majority to be passed. Resolutions 9 and 10 are proposed as special resolutions, which are to be passed require a majority of 75% to vote in favour of the resolution. The first resolution is to receive the annual report and accounts for the year ended the 30th of June 2020. I now propose that the annual report and accounts for the year ending the 30th of June 2020 be received. The votes in favour of this resolution were 3,988,563 votes in favour of the resolution. 0 shares were voted against the resolution, 0 shares were withheld, and 3,814 shares were open for the chairman to vote. I am pleased to confirm that this resolution has been passed. Thank you. Resolution to approve the Directors' Remuneration Report. The second resolution is to receive and approve the Directors' Remuneration Report for the financial year ended 30 June 2020, together with the Auditors' report on it. I now propose that the Directors' Remuneration Report for the year ended the 30th of June 2020 be received. The votes in respect of this resolution are as follows: 3,961,740 in favour of, 9,674 votes were voted against, 20,963 were withheld, and 3,814 shares were open for the chairman to vote. I'm pleased to confirm that this resolution has passed. Thank you. Resolution to approve the Directors' Remuneration Policy. Third resolution is to receive and approve the Directors' Remuneration Policy set out in pages 15 to 18 of the annual report. I now propose that the Directors' Remuneration Policy be received. The votes in favour of this resolution were 3,940,740 shares. 20,000 674 were voted against the resolutions. 30,963 were withheld, and 3,814 votes were open for the chairman to vote. I'm pleased to confirm that this resolution has been passed. Thank you. Resolution to reappoint auditors. The board is recommending that Elderton Audit UK, who were formerly known as Greenwich & Co UK, be reappointed as auditors. Resolution 4 deals with their reappointment, and the Resolution 5 deals with the remuneration. I now propose that Elderton Audit UK be reappointed as auditors. The votes in favour of this resolution were 3,981,377. 11,000 shares were voted against, no shares were withheld, and 3,814 shares were open for the chairman to vote. I'm pleased to confirm that this resolution has been passed. Thank you. I now propose that the directors be authorised to fix the remuneration of the auditors. The votes in respect of this resolution are as follows: 3,971,564 shares in favour of the resolution, 0 shares were voted against the resolution, 20,813 withheld their vote, and 3,814 shares were open for the chairman to vote. I'm pleased to confirm that this resolution has passed. Thank you. Resolutions to reappoint directors. Resolutions 6 and 7 concern the reappointment of the directors Ross Andrews and Mark Ward, each of whom is retiring as is best practice and, being eligible, are offering themselves for reappointment at this annual general meeting. I now propose that Ross Andrews be reappointed as a director. The votes in respect of this resolution are as follows: 3,969,756 shares were voted in favour of the resolution. 20,674 shares were voted against the resolutions. 1,947 shares withheld their vote, and 675 shares were open for the chairman to vote. I'm pleased to confirm that this resolution has passed. I now propose that Mark Ward be reappointed as a director. The votes in respect of this resolution are as follows: 3,928,433 votes shares were voted in favour of the resolution. 61,977 shares were voted against the resolutions. 1,947 shares withheld their vote, and 675 shares were open for the chairman to vote. I am pleased to confirm that this resolution has passed. Resolution to authorise allotment of shares. We now come to Resolution 8, which relates to the authority to issue shares. Before the directors are able to issue shares, they must first be authorised by shareholders to do so. The maximum number of shares that may be allotted under this authority is limited to an aggregate nominal value of €724,831.6, being approximately 50% of the issued ordinary share capital of the company. The authority will expire at the next annual general meeting or on the 31st of December 2021, whichever is the earliest. It is now considered standard market practice for listed companies to seek a further authority to allot shares representing up to an additional 1/3 of the company's issued share capital in connection with a rights issue. The second part of this resolution, if approved, would enable the directors to issue further shares with nominal value of €724,831.6 in connection with a rights issue without having to seek further shareholder approval. This equates to approximately 50% of the issued ordinary share capital. A more detailed explanation of this resolution is set out in the notice of meeting. I propose that directors be authorised to allot shares in accordance with the terms set out in the resolution. The votes in respect of this resolution are as follows. 3,959,943 shares were voted in favour of the resolution. 9,674 shares were voted against. 22,760 shares withheld their vote, and 674 shares were open for the chairman to vote. I'm pleased to confirm that this resolution has passed. Resolution to disapply preemption provisions. Resolution 9 will give the directors authority to allot shares for cash without first offering them to existing shareholders in proportion to their existing holding of shares. The proposed authority grants the directors power to allot shares without reference to existing shareholders up to a maximum nominal value of €362,415.8, being approximately 25% of the current issued share capital. The authority will expire at the next annual general meeting or on the 31st of December, whichever is earlier. A more detailed explanation of this resolution is set out in the notice of meeting. I now propose that the directors be authorised to disapply the statutory preemption provisions in accordance with the resolution. As this is a special resolution, a 75% majority will be required. The votes in respect of this provision are as follows. 3,949,943 shares voted in favour of the resolution. 19,674 shares were voted against. 22,760 shares withheld their vote, and 675 shares were open for the chairman to vote. I'm pleased to confirm that this resolution has been passed. Thank you. Now we come to Resolution 10. The purpose of this resolution is to authorise the company to purchase some of its own ordinary shares on such terms and in a manner as the directors may from time to time determine. The authority sought limits the maximum number of shares purchased to 2,500,000. The minimum and maximum prices that may be paid for the shares are as set out in the resolution. I'd like to emphasise that the directors would only purchase shares in the market if they are satisfied that any such purchase is in the best interest of shareholders and could be reasonably expected to result in an increase in the earnings per share. The authority will expire at the next annual general meeting or on the 31st of December 2021, whichever is the earlier. I now propose that the company be authorised to purchase its own shares. As this is a special resolution, a 75% majority will be required. The votes in respect of this resolution are as follows. 3,959,617 shares were voted in favour of the resolution. 11,947 shares were voted against, and 20,813 shares withheld their vote. 675 shares are open for the chairman to vote. I'm pleased to confirm that this resolution has passed. That concludes the business of the adjourned annual general meeting. The final results of the adjourned annual general meeting will be announced to the markets through the Regulatory Information Service and posted on our website as soon as practicable. I now move on to the business of the general meeting. We will now proceed to vote on the resolutions of the general meeting, which I will formally propose to the meeting. The full text of each of the resolutions is set out in the notice of general meeting a copy of which you will have received. Both the resolutions 1 and 2 are proposed as ordinary resolutions and require a simple majority to be passed. Resolution to appoint Simon Piper as a director of the company. I now propose that Simon Piper be appointed as a director of the company with effect from the close of the general meeting. The votes in respect of this resolution are as follows. 3,794,735 shares were voted in favour of the resolution. 214,097 shares were voted against the resolutions. 10,900 shares withheld their vote and no shares were open for the chairman to vote. I am pleased to confirm that this resolution has passed and I would like to formally welcome Simon to the board. Thank you. Resolution to appoint Joseph Bayer as a director of the company. Resolution concerns the reappointment of myself, Joseph Bayer, as a director, and I am retiring as is best practice, and being eligible, I am offering myself for reappointment at this general meeting. I would now like to hand over to Blake Hughes, who will assume the chair to propose this resolution. Thank you, Blake.
Thanks, Joe. Hello, everyone. I now propose that Joseph Bayer be reappointed as a director. The votes in respect of this resolution are as follows. 3,889,339 shares were voted in favour of the resolution. 130,393 shares were voted against the resolution. 0 shares withheld their vote. And 3,814 shares were open to the chairman to vote. I'm pleased to confirm that this resolution has passed. Thank you. And well done, Joe. Back to you, Joe.
Thank you, Blake. That concludes the business of the adjourned annual general meeting and the general meeting. Thank you all for your interest and attendance and declare the adjourned annual general meeting and the general meeting closed. Final results of the adjourned annual general meeting and the general meeting will be announced to the markets through our regulatory information service and posted on our website as soon as practicable. Now hand back to the host.
Joe, Blake, thank you very much indeed. Ladies and gentlemen, please do submit any questions you have in the format requested by Joe using the Q&A tab in the top right-hand corner of your screen. I'd like to take this opportunity to remind you that a recording of this presentation, along with a copy of the slides and any published Q&A, can be accessed via your investor dashboard on the Investor Meet Company platform. Lastly, I'd like to remind you that your feedback is important to the company. So immediately after the presentation has ended, you'll be redirected for the opportunity to provide feedback in order that the company can better understand your views and expectations. Joe and Blake, just coming back to you, it looks like there are no questions to run through at this juncture. I don't know if you wish to give any further time to see if any would come in, but I'm suspecting that possibly is not the case. If not, I could hand back to you, Joe, and Blake, just to perhaps wrap up any summary statements you have for today.
Thank you. No, we've concluded the meeting agenda items and resolutions.
Excellent.
Just noticed there's a couple of questions have come up.
Indeed. I'll hand back to you guys.
Okay, so the first, we've got a question. Do we forecast pricing pressure for INNOVADERMA products? I don't expect that we will experience pricing pressures. I think we are in a challenging market, so I think those market pressures will come more about demand and consumer propensity to spend rather than pricing pressures on our products. So I think that that would answer that pretty clearly. Have another question here. What is the country mix of the board of directors now? Obviously, we have Blake Hughes, our CEO, who is based in London. Ross Andrews is based in London. Mark Ward is based in London. Simon Piper is based in London, and I am based in Australia. So that gives you, if my maths are correct, probably an 80-20 split, so or close to. I have another question here. Can the company give guidance on how the first half is going? At this point in time, I think we made a comment earlier that we'll be issuing a trading update as we would normally do, generally the first week of January, as relation to how trading has been for the first 6 months. So I think in about 2 weeks' time, we should be giving that trading update.
Joe, thank you once again. That's great. Any further questions that are submitted, the company will review all of them and will of course publish those on the Investor Meet Company platform. So Joe, I know I did offer before, you have, if you would like any further wrap-up words, Joe or Blake, feel free to offer those.
We've just got a couple of other questions come through. Maybe I can throw this one to Blake. He's answered this question a few times for the board, and he might like to answer it again for shareholders. But Blake, what attracted you to join?
Thanks, Joe. Look, whenever I look at a business, I look at 3 key parts of that business, particularly in the beauty business. The first part is what are the quality of the products? Do the products actually deliver, and is there a consumer demand for those products? The second piece for me is looking at, do we have attractive brands and particularly attractive in a digital context as we look at how the marketplace is rapidly evolving. And then third is really looking at businesses. Is there, lots of opportunities for growth? And as I looked at Innovaderma and as I talked through this with the board, what became clear to me was all of those 3 criteria were more than met. And actually, I see it as an exciting future potential.
Great. Thank you, Blake. We have one final question that's come up, and it's a question about life sciences deemed strategic. The board, as it will be looking at all parts of the business, as Blake has come in as a new CEO, naturally these changing times, we have had a new director with Mark Ward joining us. Simon Piper joins us effective the general meeting. So I think when you have that sort of move on in terms of a CEO and the board, I think everyone wants to sit down and consider what is strategic and what is not strategic. And this is no different a time for us now to actually have a really good look at our business. It's important for us to take in all new thoughts, and I think as a varied board and management team, we'll be having a look at all of the opportunities that sit in front of us, and our primary objective is to maximise everything we have in our stable for the benefit of growing the business and creating shareholder wealth. So they'll all be looked. Every part of our business will continue to be looked at with those objectives in mind. I think that's all. I think at this point in time, the questions that we will be answering.
Joe and Blake,
if any other questions come in after this, I'm sure that the company will have a look at them and respond appropriately.
Thank you for reiterating that, Joe. That's absolutely right. Any answered questions, as I mentioned before, will be published via the Investor Meet Company platform. Could I ask investors not to close the session, as you will now automatically be redirected for the opportunity to provide your feedback, which is important to the company. If you access this meeting from our website, the feedback page will appear. If you access from the link sent by an email, you'll be asked to log in to submit your feedback. On behalf of Innovaderma PLC, we would like to thank you for attending today's presentation. I wish everyone a good day.
Good. Thank you very much.